Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. And it seems that a more concerning matter is happening, where what's related to California. Because what's happening here is that California is in a stand-fall to where it's just constantly collapsing everywhere you go. According to especially this year, so many restaurants and stores have closed due to the economy, what's happening here, and the actual amount of criminal activity that's happening. And for California, we lost another store, which was Rubio's, and we lost about 48 of them. So it's not great. And what we have here is the actual story and situation of it all, with the Rubio's being closed. So take a look.
Beloved Southern California company, Rubio's Fish Tacos is closing a third of its restaurants, including dozens right here in SoCal. The company is blaming the rising cost of doing business in the state. KCAL News reporter Lori Perez live now with details for us. Lori?
Yeah, Juan, that's right. In announcing the closures, as you said, the company referred to the rising costs of doing business in California. But we spoke with an expert tonight who says it's not that simple.
It's sad to see that it's a quality, good company that can't keep all of their Rubios open.
Customers with a hankering for Rubio's Fish Tacos might have to drive a little farther to get their fix. The restaurant's owners announced Friday they had shuttered more than a third of its locations, including 24 in the LA area. In a statement saying the closings were brought about by the rising cost of doing business in California. While painful, the store closures are a necessary step in our strategic long-term plan to position Rubio's for success for years to come.
And this is just the way it is, right? Like, where you are in LA. And sometimes, and people are going to be like, oh, JM reports. What's going on with this? Like, well, the economy's bad everywhere and all of the stores are closing. Yes. However, California has had, I almost want to say, a record-breaking of stores amount of closing in just 2023 alone. Not even talking in the past 4 years after Biden came into office. Now, I do agree that the Biden administration, with their economy and everything else, is causing and leading some of these stores to close down. But a lot of these stores are also closing down due to crime. If people have been watching my channel long enough, due to the new people being here, they don't see this, but I have reported numerous times to where the crime was one of the reasons why the stores closed down. Now, of course, stores stay out of sometimes a little bit of the political era, so they don't really address or say what's the reason why what's going on. But after you see the stores getting hit multiple times, they tend to, close down for the reason crime is, they're getting broken into all the time, right? So, that's what we have here. And with this situation, with the Rubio's closing down, it's that the economy is destroying it. It is not easy to live in LA. It's not easy to live almost anywhere in California. So, now they're putting on the squeeze, and they can't handle it anymore, because California is a death pit, a hellhole, you could say, of, living in the horrendous state.
Disappointed customers across the state echoing the company's frustration.
I'm sure a lot of businesses are going through the same problems. We're overtaxed, we're overburdened.
But some economists say while it's common to hear companies blame California's high costs, and the state did just raise the minimum wage by $4 an hour, the other factor is Rubio's was already in trouble. It had filed for bankruptcy in 2020, then tried to reorganize, exactly the kind of company that would be vulnerable to any increased costs.
Yeah, so in 2020, we had the pandemic, right? Our entire country decided it was a great and brilliant idea to shut down the entire country for a full year and, have a whole negative impact on that fact. But Gavin Newsom, our Gestapo, our great dictator of California, I think it was went even further on restrictions and really put the nail in the coffin with businesses because he really wanted to shut it down. And this is what's caused a lot of the restaurants to collapse or close. I know personally some of them have closed here in my city, and that's just not great because he shut down practically the entire state for a full-blown year. And Rubio's is a casualty, but I think what put the nail in the coffin here for Rubio's was the actual minimum wage increase, which caused this issue, right? And now, since you have this, that sure maybe you have McDonald's, Walmart, Target, and like these big corporations, sure, they could probably handle the the $4 increase, well, without too much difficulty, possibly. But with mom and pop shops and Rubios and restaurants, this is a problem. They can't deal with the $4 increase of minimum wage. So now that they have this increase in minimum wage, they have to start collapsing. They have to start closing up shop because they can't deal with the actual increase, and this is showing here.
So for those businesses that are not doing very well near the shutdown margin, this increase in costs, when they try to pass it on to their consumers may just stop shopping there, and it may be the thing that pushes them over the edge into a situation where they go out of business. I think that's the sort of thing that we're seeing in the case of Rubio's.
The Rubio's closures, of course, mean lots of workers lost their jobs. The company did not confirm how many. Wheaton says in the last 9 months, including since the minimum wage hike, about 10,000 fast food workers in the state overall have lost their jobs. That's about a 1.3% decline.
We told everybody that this was going to happen. We said we keep on telling people, you increase the minimum wage. Even years before this happened, this was going to be the issue. You're going to have stores closing down. You're going to be fired. You're going to, it's going to have a horrible negative impact on the economy of the state. And guess what happens? This is exactly what happens. People start firing people. People start closing down. All this stuff. Like, it's not good. It became a whole net negative. And it's like the people are confused or like scratching their head. What happened here? Well, this is what happens when you do this stupidity, right? And some people are like, oh, what about, they need to have minimum wage. What about minimum? Okay, but again, it's like, we're going to put a livable wage here, right? The minimum wage, the livable wage here. Then and especially in certain cities, especially in California, you have to be living off of 70, 80K a year in order to be livable, right? Do you live comfortably or what have you? Why are you not increasing the minimum wage up to that standard? And nobody can really answer me that point. Because we all know on the actual horrible negative effects it would be if they actually did that. The whole point, this whole livable wage is stupid because you can't really pay people this much consistently all the time and then have, mom and pop shops be able to pay this. This is not possible. There's a reason why I have a fluctuation of certain restaurants being able to do this or that. So, again, it's dumb. Either you're going to if you're going to say livable wage, okay, and then on all the cities that people need to have livable wages because you guys are so far on with the livable wage, right? Then you need to make sure that people in LA are getting at least 70, 80K a year at all jobs. At all jobs. At the very least, all jobs. And if you can't do that, then shut up.
The research tells us is that once you get up to higher minimum wages, and large increases, so for example, going from $16 to $20 in one jump, that's when we tend to see pretty large or larger disemployment effects. So, the research can tell us what the trade-off is, but ultimately it falls to policymakers and voters to decide where exactly they think that right level is.
There are still 86 Rubio's locations in California that will remain open.
So yeah, that's not great. And as you said, it's been worse. But here's another thing as well, guys, that California is going to end up doing sometime soon. We have this here from Cal Matters, which Cal doesn't matters. Says California promised a higher minimum wage for healthcare workers. Will Newsom delay it? And he did delay it. He 100% did. Now, instead of having to go through this giant article here of, explaining the minimum wage thing, we'll do this here to where we have, from the Becker's Hospital Review, California delays $25 healthcare worker minimum wage. It says, California given Newsom signed legislation by May 31st to delay the start of minimum wage increases for healthcare workers by 1 month. The legislation, authored by California Senator Maria Elena Durazo, postpones the start of the wage adjustments to July 1st, the beginning of the state's fiscal year. This provides additional time for the governor's administration to continue to work with state lawmakers and stakeholders to tie provisions related to the healthcare worker minimum wage law to state budget conditions according to Cal Matters. Mr. Newsom signed SB 525 in October to gradually increase the minimum wage for healthcare workers to $25 per hour starting June 1st. The law calls for annual increases ranging from $18 to $25 per hour, with healthcare facilities expected to reach $25 per hour minimum wage by June 1st, 2028, or for some in the rural locations in 2033. The governor then released a price estimate of $4 billion in 2024 to 25 fiscal year alone, and indicated he wanted to potentially delay the increases in the face of the state's projected budget shortfall. Given the overall economic and general fund revenue outlook and the significant fiscal impact of SB 525 on the state, the administration is seeking early action in January by the legislature to add an annual trigger to make the minimum wage increases subject to general fund revenue availability, clarify the decision for state facilities, and make their implementation clarifications. So that's what they're doing here. But their whole reason is that, like, well, the estimate price to increase this is $4 billion, right? That's what they're saying. And it's like, oh, well, we don't actually have the funds to do this, by the way. We don't have the funds to pay these people because a lot of our government people, our government healthcare workers are paid by the government. So the government has to get money somewhere to pay these people. And they're saying, like, oh, well, we don't have the money for this. We don't have the money. So we're going to delay it by 1 month because that's going to change something. And make sure we have the actual funds. How is the government, how is California, how is Gavin Newsom going to pay these healthcare workers an extra $25 per hour if they can't even afford it to begin with? Like, they delayed it because it was going to cost too much. It's insanity to me, guys. It's insanity to me, and this is going to be a net negative for California in the long term because we're going to have everything increase here in the state because the government is like, because the government has to pay for this. It's all subsidized and everything regulated by the government, so now the government is paying for all these people for the increase of their minimum wage, and it's just going to be a catastrophic effect. And I'm going to think that more businesses are going to be struggling even more after this as well. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, California made its own actual decisions here to close all this stuff and what have you. And I don't know what to tell you. It's it seems to me that it is a massive problem here, and it's gonna be a doomsfall. It's gonna be a doomsfall forever for the foreseeable future because we did this. It's like Californians put these people into power, and more restaurants I think are gonna close, especially after what we say June 1st when this comes into effect here, because which is now actually, funny enough. So we'll see what happens. I don't think it's gonna be great, guys. I think it's gonna be a horrible time, and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. So always, take care, my friend.
I'm disgusted about what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. Cause it's algorithmic disease, the social media.